This episode contains mature language and situations. Listener discretion is advised. You wake, standing on the doorstep of a beautiful mansion. The front door stands open. You can hear voices, music, so many people. You step towards the door. You have to know what's inside. You're lost. You have no memory of how you got here. It doesn't matter. Because now, you belong to the Grey Rooms. Season 3, Episode 20, The Trial of Admiral Beckett, Part 2.
His grip was like a vice, his skin hot to the touch. The Founder, here, in the flesh. The rest of the assembled staff of the Grey Room stood by, watching, as he shook my hand. Good to see you again, sir. It's nice to be able to put a face to the name.
Ah, but that's not my name, is it? I don't personally feel the need for these titles or your mortal nicknames.
He pulled me closer, the strength implied in that simple action enormous, as if he were being ever so careful not to hurt me, like I might cradle a mouse.
You can call me by my true name, Admiral. You can call me Belial, Lord of the Sixth Circle of Hell, Founder of the Grey Rooms. And I'll be damned if you haven't been an interesting guest to follow.
I stared across lacquer flooring at the Founder's back. In the light of 1,000 flickering candles, I could see a glimmer of fear in the Admiral's eye. I knew it would take Belial a fraction of his strength to crush the man like an insect. For all I knew, that was what he was planning to do. Founder, you honor us with your presence. He turned, leaving the Admiral with a stricken look on his face. The ancient being stalked across the room to stand before me.
It's been too long. Far too long. And you've looked better, my friend.
He glanced aside at the architect.
Why is he missing an eye and smelling like he has spent several nights in the barn?
Bob, here, has fallen short on several occasions. You know my policy on failure.
High standards, yes. One of the reasons you're my favorite, Pen. Is this true, Woe?
I do not believe so, sir. If you will allow me to...
Later. First, we have to talk about the Admiral here.
He spun back to face me, excited, like a child presented with a new toy.
You believe you offer something new, something valuable to management?
I do, sir. A mortal perspective. A unique viewpoint as a leader of women and men.
It's intriguing. We already know what Woe thinks of this idea. Alma?
The Admiral has proven himself to be a cunning and challenging guest, Founder.
She glanced in my direction, appraising.
From the first moment I met him, he has considered his circumstances on multiple levels. He has a keen mind and a flexibility of thought not often found in mortals. The very fact that he can wield arcane power in the manner he does proves he is unlike the typical damned that have passed through these halls. I hope I'm not overstating my case as a new member of the project, but given the right guidance and mentoring, I would have no problem collaborating with a mortal of the Admiral's quality.
Belial nodded. His gaze passed right over Todd, who looked relieved, to settle on the Warden. The Duke looked at the crazed demon with the fondness of a favorite pet.
And you, old friend?
I want to wear him like a second skin, boss. Let me carve his bones into knives. Pretty please.
Perhaps. We'll have to see how the day goes.
From where I sat, the look that passed between the Founder and the Architect spoke volumes. A slow smile crossed his lips, but he spoke aloud just the same.
And you, Penn? I got the ball rolling. I pay to keep the lights on, but this is your show. He'd be working for you if this thing happens. What do you say?
She swiveled her head like a great, cruel bird of prey. Beckett stared right back at her, hard determination written on his face.
As I said, when the Admiral first proposed it, I believe this idea has merit. But honeyed words and good ideas will not shore up the walls of Dis. They will not fend off the advances of other realms, or afford us new advances in thaumaturgical research.
She swept out her hand, gesturing across the circle.
I would propose a trial of sorts. A test. The trial of Admiral Beckett.
I'm ready. What would you have me do? He paced then for a moment, back and forth, looking me up and down. I had the sense of a predator deciding if I was worth making into a meal. The Founder stopped, sharp, and in a few quick strides came to stand before me. He was taller now, somehow, and stared imperiously down into my very soul. Those violet portals betrayed nothing of the demon's thoughts as he considered my face for a long moment.
Impress me.
I'm sorry?
Well, you say you have insights to give, new perspective to bring to the project. I'm a busy demon, David. I'm going to be at this function later. A little gathering of some of the dukes. Mammon, Duke of the Fourth Circle, is going to be there. He's going to open his fat gob and insist we talk about why some of his souls have ended up down here. And it's going to make me... well, it's going to make me very angry.
He leaned down and I could feel his breath on my cheek. It smelled like sweet rot and sulfur.
So, right now, you're going to impress me with one of your great mortal ideas. Or right now, you're going to fail. And I'm going to let the Warden transform you into wet, messy art.
Yes.
Either way, you'll give me something to chuckle about. while I'm talking to that grinning piece of garbage later. So, impress me.
It took all of my strength in that moment not to flinch. I kept my eyes on his, resisting the urge to look over at my son. I didn't dare look at Samuel, couldn't draw strength from his presence. I was alone in this. My time in the rooms had led to this moment, and I would not fail. All right. As demons, you think of souls as currency, as treasures to be won or lost. That narrow viewpoint has blinded you to the worth of the mortals in question. In short, you've wasted endless valuable opportunities. Opportunities I could help you to make the most of.
Go on.
Your arcanists do an excellent job in hosting your loci, sir. But your goal is simply to harvest, to use the guests as snares. Or did I misunderstand that?
That's correct. Though we consider a number of factors in choosing a guest's vessel: power, uniqueness, cruelty, and as you say, proximity to other damned souls all play into our decision where to place a door.
It's a good system, but you're not seeing the intrinsic value of these mortals. To the project, a soul is just a soul. You seem like a man with big plans. Why not recruit some of these mortals? Make use of them as they are. Look at me. Look at all I've accomplished, even trapped behind the walls of Ash Manor. Just think what an army of willing mortal soldiers could do for your cause.
Belial stalked back to the center of the circle, his head bent in thought.
We can't, Admiral.
I blinked. Uh-oh.
Those of us chained to the rock are specifically forbidden to do what you're proposing.
But I've seen myself inside the rooms. Demons tempting the souls of mortals.
There are some specific exceptions where you're allowed to directly influence a mortal, yes. But just as in the rooms themselves, the choices a mortal makes in life are what damn them. Each realm plays by a set of rules, Admiral. Accords agreed to a long time ago. Tipping the scales would invite retribution, and attention the project cannot afford.
All eyes went to the Duke. He turned, an expansive grin on his face.
Out of the mouths of babes.
The founder gazed at Beckett with a look I had never seen before. A glittering flash of avarice and insight. A cruel mask set atop his features. He was amused. Deeply amused.
He can do it.
I'm sorry.
If we give him a chance, he can do what he's proposing. Technically, the accords with the other realms don't cover this. Technically, he's still just a mortal. If a mortal asks another mortal if they want to work for a Duke of Hell, well...
The Founder's violet eyes found mine, and I felt my stomach lurch.
That's on him, isn't it?
I gave in, then, and snuck a glance at Samuel. He was as terrified as I was, but he nodded, grim determination on his face. A recruiter.
Yes.
I could act as your recruiter. Give me a chance and I'll prove it to you. I've met some truly twisted mortals in my time in the rooms. Perfect candidates. Let me return to some of my loci. Talk to some of the damned. I was a leader. I can be again.
And if you fail?
If I fail, well, the Warden here can do with me what he pleases.
Incredible. And if you're successful, you join the project, our newest and most junior member of management. That's your pitch?
That's my pitch.
The founder stood there then for a long moment, his smoldering eyes cast towards the ground. As he considered the future of the Admiral, the future of the project, I felt suddenly very, very old. The weight of the long years of the Grey Rooms, the hundreds of souls that had passed through my fingers, the dozens of guests I'd had to steward, cultivate, and ultimately dispose of. Some part of me wanted to protest, to fight what I was sure would be a devastating turn of events. But I didn't have it in me. I didn't have the strength. I sank back into the chair behind me, and I reached for my drink.
Admiral, if you fail, the Warden will make it last a long, long time. You know that, right?
I do. He smiled at me then, pointed a finger at my chest, and nodded to the architect.
Give him what he needs, Pen. Let's see what the kid can do.
I started with the Warlock of Astroth, the man in the big car. It was surprisingly easy to convince him to go with me. Then the farmer, in life a drunk weakling, a pathetic wretch, but I knew the darkness within him was earned the hard way. Chosen. In hell he'd be powerful, an able soldier for the Founder. From there, door after door, I stepped into a dark story that I'd played out before. I knew these monsters, knew them inside and out, and so I found I knew just what to say. I found the head of the hedgehog family just walking out of the taxidermist shop. As I escorted Christy home, I outlined how I could help her, how I could solve all of her problems. In exchange, she willingly followed me back to the rooms. She only asked for my help to ensure her husband, son, and pet could accompany us. I somehow managed not to gag at the stench of their wet, rotting corpses permeating my clothes. My trip into the little suburban house to retrieve Nolan was disturbing, but in the grand scheme of things, simple enough. I led him back to the rooms with chunks of red glistening meat. He giggled the entire way back to hell. Some reading I'd done in Bob's study gave context to why that certain man from Russia was so notable. I had never heard the name Rasputin before my time in the rooms. Even still, it was shocking to pull his body from the icy waters beneath the bridge. His skull was all but destroyed. His limbs were bound in twisting chains, and still he twitched, striving to live. Todd assisted me in carrying this grotesque soldier to Alma's lab. There, his restoration, she told me, was all but assured. The old woman in the little village was a stopover I had been looking forward to. I had felt the pain in her feet, the agony of her bleeding mouth, the cruel glares of the townspeople. She might have thought the gathering was all for me, but I was very glad to end it. I stepped from the darkness beyond the crowd, lashing out with arcane power. Their flaming torches fell to the earth before they could light the pyres. She cackled with glee as I set her free. She and her apprentices. It was a genuine pleasure to raise that little hamlet and to usher her home to a place that would appreciate her cunning and talents. My last stop was the studio of Fletcher Brand, the artist with the unusual gifts. Of all the people I had in mind for recruitment, he was the one I was least sure of. Would he go willingly, excitedly, or would he try to kill me? After all, everyone's a critic. Somehow, some way, it seemed as though I had been destined for this role. Brand listened to my pitch, nodding as I spoke. When I was done, he wordlessly walked to a side cupboard and pulled out a well-worn satchel, tailored leather, and a custom strap. As I watched, he patted around the airy loft where so many lives had ended, brushing a hand across some of his grim creations. He plucked up paints, brushes, trowels, and other art supplies he'd used for decades. Finally, after making one final circuit, he walked to the door, grabbed his coat, and gestured for me to precede him. As I did my work, traveling from room to room, a strange sort of alchemy changed me from within. I had given it a great deal of thought, how I could be useful to the project, and so when the founder put the question to me, it was an opportunity, a way forward. But talking to these mortals, I passed through their worlds of my own free will. No chains to bind me, no expectations but that I do my job. And I found, to my great surprise, that I liked it. More than that, I was good at it. Here, in service to Belial, far from the 12 galaxies and their politics, far from the legacy my father had left behind, I found a new life, a new purpose. And as I returned to Ash Manor with the murderous artist in tow, I knew that I would do anything, say anything, to stay on the path I now saw laid out before me.
Belial's tower perched atop the walls of Dis, overlooking the vast expanse of the 6th layer of hell. I stood by the window, the cozy confines of his office behind me, considering the nature of his domain. The walls swept out to either side below us, off to the horizon. Valleys and choking black rivers, dark woods and decaying churches dotted the landscape. In large blocks of 10s and 20s were the flaming tombs that had fulfilled the layer's historical purpose. But even from this vantage point, high above, I could see with mine own eye why the Grey Rooms project had begun. Many of the famous tombs were dark, only embers drifting from within. Work crews of harvested souls moved with urgency. Hell was always crumbling, always in need of repair. But the suffering mortals in those press gangs were painfully short in number. The 6th layer of hell was dying, as it had been for some time. Belial's tribute, the souls that were his due, were those that had committed the sin of heresy. Across the mortal realms, acting against the edicts of your faith had once been seen as a terrible crime, and it was so very easy to do. In the centuries after the hells were formed, Belial became fantastically wealthy. Souls from all corners poured into his domain. But unlike demons, mortals change. That is their blessing and their curse, after all. Mortals have the capacity to change, to choose to be different than they were. And so the sin of heresy, in realm after realm, transmuted from a dire crime worthy of burning for eternity, to something you did 6 times before breakfast. Like a river drying up under the heat of an unfeeling star, the flood of souls to Belial's realm slowed to a crawl. The dukes of the other layers cackled and laughed. Wrath, greed, and lust were hardly going out of style, and they felt no pain at Belial's suffering, didn't care if one of the layers crumbled into dust. That was why, on the precipice of ruin, the Duke of the 6th layer entered into a dark pact with the Host, the Grove, and the Far. He became the Founder, and the Grey Rooms were born. In the here and now, before my very eye, I was seeing a new fate set for those rooms, a new chapter in their long and terrible tale. I turned from the window, a sour expression on my face. All around me was the opulence, furniture made of ancient wood hewn from forests that had yet to know a mortal's touch. Rich tapestries hung from the walls, and the assembled members of management considered this man, this mortal, at the center of the room. Admiral Beckett, concluding a colorful description of his recruitment campaign.
And that's where I feel I should leave it for now. Was I successful with every conversion? No. The site manager at Ice Station Bravo didn't understand the potential of my offer. And the creatures within Last Train, which seemed excellent candidates, well, they tried to devour me rather than talk. A pity. Otherwise, I would say my efforts were extremely successful.
That remains to be seen. They're in the manor now?
Yes, Todd is seeing to their needs. And of course, my thanks to Alma for her contributions as well.
No trouble at all. It seems as though your idea has borne fruit, Admiral. Several of the mortals you've brought back with you are quite powerful indeed.
Yes. Yes, it is a rather impressive result. Beyond even my expectations. Founder, what do you think?
Seated at the far end of the room, Belial sat back in his chair. His throne. The Duke of Hell steepled his hands, looking contemplatively at the Admiral. The former guest stood at parade rest, his hands behind his back, his face unflinching in the face of the Founder's gaze.
I think... I think I'm convinced.
His words hung in the air for a long moment, as we all worked to understand their meaning.
You are convinced? Then the Admiral has succeeded.
I have?
Founder,
Not another word, Bob.
I merely wish to understand...
Enough. We have allowed this charade to go on long enough. Bob, Admiral Beckett has done more for the project in this last few days than you have in years. Please, be silent.
What is she talking about?
You cannot seriously believe that to be true.
Can't I? The Warden's deterioration, the many little hiccups with Todd's time in the rooms, the loss of Miss Winters, the appearance of a being from the far in Ash Manor, the snake. You let a guest get the better of you in your own study.
Architect, I'm not sure.
Admiral, as it seems that we will be working much more closely together from now on, you should learn when your best contribution to a conversation is silence. Bob, please, explain to me how all of these things, and more, are not lapses that should be placed at your feet.
I was unaware that my commitment to the project was in question.
Oh, I'm not questioning your commitment. I am deeply and fundamentally questioning your competence.
And there it was, all out in the open. The many missteps the project had seen over the years, the bumps in the road, the losses and setbacks. All in a rush, I saw it laid out before me. Little comments that had been building for years. Alma's addition to the project. My suspension at the start of Ash Manor. My torture at the Warden's hands. Everything, suddenly, pointing directly at me. I say, Madam Architect, I don't suppose there is a meeting of the board coming up soon.
How dare you?
Oh, what a surprise.
What are you talking about?
I'm sorry to say, David, but as you are walking in the front door, I apparently am walking out the back. This is a power play, pure and simple. The architect has a few problems she needs swept under the rug, and I have been chosen as the one to hold the proverbial bag.
Politics. You tortured him. Removed his eye for politics.
The board must have been getting increasingly vocal in their concerns. Perhaps a visit from your sister, complaining you're not taking decisive action. But then, you've seen this coming, haven't you? You've been lining up the pieces of this particular puzzle for some time, and now...
And now, your time with the project is over. Unless you have any objections, Founder.
Belial, my one-time friend, my one-time patron, my one-time lover, had been silent throughout this exchange. Now he stood, towering over the room.
Overreich, attendant to the Grey Rooms. I, Belial, hold your chain, but I have held it for too long, old friend. Allowed it to go slack. It is time I passed its links to another. A master that will be more attentive. Warden?
He stepped from the shadows behind me and clasped a collar around my neck, heavy and scribed with runes. I felt all of my strength leave my limbs. I felt so very tired.
Sorry, old pal, but you know you're not the
demon you used to be. And we both know it.
I would forever remember the looks on their faces. Beckett, shocked and confused. Alma, eyes downcast, trying not to get involved. The architect, the Dominus Penemu, triumphant. And Belial, my liege, the demon that held my chain, stood there with a face made of stone.
You are dismissed, Woe. Never cloud my sight again.
His eyes were dead inside. I was nothing to him. I glared at the architect as the Warden tugged at my lead, as he started to lead me from the tower. I knew just where he would take me, just where I would be held. I knew which dark halls, which endless cells they'd place me in. It was, after all, exactly what I would have done.
We're gonna have so much fun.
At the door, I turned, resisting the pull of the chains for a long moment. I gazed directly into Belial's eyes. Founder, on reflection, the offer you made to me all those years ago, taking it was a mistake. It's clear to me now. I should have had higher standards.
I stepped down from the open door of Ash Manor onto the long set of marble steps that led down to the expansive drive. My son was at my side. Just as it had done that very first day, the sun was beginning to set over the horizon. Its fading light scattered shadows over the endless rolling fields beyond the manor grounds.
It's kind of beautiful here, in its own way.
Yes, it is. I hope the next version of the rooms will offer up similar beauty, a counterpart to the pain.
Was that philosophy from my old man?
Let's just say after everything I've seen and done, well, I guess I've changed.
That's our privilege as mortals. Almost our duty, isn't it?
I suppose so. We allowed a comfortable silence to hang between us. We had much to do in the coming months. The next phase of the rooms was soon to be upon us, and tasks from the architect flowed like a constant stream. But I felt confident with Samuel at my side. We could accomplish anything. Other men would have been afraid.
We're never coming back here, are we?
I glanced up at the sprawling bulk behind me. Already it looked different to my eyes. No lights glimmered in her upper windows, and within I knew the process of pulling apart the arcane bonds that held the loci in place was already underway. No, we're not. And that's why I asked Todd to pull the carriage around. Alma said the safest way to leave was the way I came in. Leave it all behind at Ash Manor.
Here you are, sir. Can I interest you in a few stops along the way back to the Founder's Town?
I'd like that, Todd.
Yes, sir. Just hop up in.
Todd. You know you don't have to call me that. Sir, nothing has changed between us. The look on his face as he stared up at me was one of pain and panic. I could see the arm that ended in a stone fist shake and spasm. And then, all of it was set to the side as he leaned in close to me.
Yes, it has, sir. I'm sorry, but it has. Please don't make this any harder on me than it already is.
All I could do was nod. I stepped up into the carriage, and the old man closed the door behind me. Beyond the window rolled fields of golden wheat and purple lilacs.
Their heady scents wafted through the fading sunlight and filled the cabin with countryside smells.
I was calm. I knew who I was, why I was here. I knew the kind of man I was. I trusted my choices. After all, we are the choices we make. My name was Beckett, and now I belonged to the Grey Rooms.
The Trial of Admiral Beckett, Part 2, We Are the Choices We Make. Written by Michael Zenke, with performances by Eddie Cooper as Beckett, Joe Stofko as Belial, Graham Rowat as Bob, Margaret Ashley as the Architect, Chantal Jean-Pierre as Alma, Jason Wilson as the Warden, Michael Turrentine as Samuel, and Alistair Mackey as Todd. Musical production is by J.M. Scherf. Episode artwork, web design, creative direction by Cassie Petit. Social media, Patreon, show notes, behind the door host, just all around great dude, Brooks Bigley. Season narrative, writer, and editor for The Grey Rooms, Michael Zenke. Videography director, Hale Scherf. Associate producer, actor, and awesome human being, Graham Rowat. Assistant sound engineer, N.M. Brown. And executive producer, host, audio engineer, and sound design was me, Jason Wilson. Once again, we come to a close to a great and glorious extended season of The Grey Rooms. We hope you enjoyed the 2-part episode of The Trials of Admiral Beckett. This was a challenge. With the doubling of our season and the expansion of our universe, we truly had our work cut out for us. But with your support and with the superb material we have to work with, we were able to pull it off this season, and we broke 1 million downloads in the process. Thank you ever so much for such a wonderful season. Season 3 will go down as one of the best seasons on record. Thank you. I truly, truly, truly mean that. We have grown, and that is all because of you. And I try not to sound like a broken record here, but I really cannot thank you enough. Seriously. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we also need to take the time to thank our patrons, who without their help, we would not have been able to financially grow like we did this season. With the support of our patrons, we have been able to pay our talented actors and authors, upgrade studio items, and increase our reach. Thank you so very much. You truly are the reason we can continue to grow. Patrons like Aaron Anthony, Amy Nicolai, Arthur Unk, Diver Ellie Dowell, Ellen Houghton, Emily Cullen, Eric Phones, Jackalbot Snows, Ronan Kumori, Jason Porras, Jeremiah Overstreet, Jessica Finch, Karina Sanina, Kay Davis, Kelly Bear, Kittysaurus Rex, love it, Klaus H., Kyle Wilcox, Laura Lupinetti, Lynn Browning, Lizzie B., Mesa, Megan Pruitt, Michael Velez, Mike Devine, Mitch Gerrits, Microphilic BG, Paige Pye, Patrick Stewart, Plin Plon, All Night Long, Sean Gary, Shay Barbie, Sparky Anglin, Spirit Live, Stacy Thewis, Sybil McKinney, Talicia Gallman, The Original Nick Show, and Ion Alien. Don't forget that The Grey Rooms is also streaming for free on Spotify. Just get the Spotify app or open the browser and search The Grey Rooms. And thank you again for taking the time to leave us a 5-star rating and a review. Those reviews keep us at the top of the chart, and it makes it easier for other twisted souls to find this show. And we at The Grey Rooms here, we love our fans. And we want to do everything we can to give back to you in the best way that we know how. We have a lot of fun things that we have prepared for you, and we hope that you enjoy them. You can find out more by joining us on social media. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, and Facebook. And we took your advice and extended an olive branch to all of our tortured souls who have passed through the rooms. Our emotional support group is always looking to help you with all of your needs, especially after this extended season. And let's not forget about our merch store. It's full of epic designs and logos for you to sport, showing the world that you are a survivor of these very rooms. All of this can be found in the show notes or on our website at thegrayrooms.com. And if you would like to help us prepare for Season 4 and financially support the show, then please go over to patreon.com/thegrayrooms today and find the tier that's right for you. We are constantly stewing around ideas to continue to try to grow our reward tiers for our patrons, because without you, literally none of this would be possible. And let's not forget about our Discord channel. Come on over and join in the chaos. The season may be over, but the preparations for Season 4 are well underway, and you can join in the community that, in my personal opinion, is the best in all of podcasting. So come on over today, join in on the chaos, meet actors, authors, patrons, and just listeners and supporters of the show such as yourself. You can't go wrong. But, like I said, we have a lot more coming up. Don't think that just because this is the end of the season that this is the end of content, because that's not the case at all. We have a ton of stuff lined up for you in the off season. And patrons, be ready. Information coming for you soon. I hope y'all are ready for what we have in store in Season 4. We have a lot of work to get done. And with that, I will close out one more time. Thank you again ever so much, and we will see you next season.